Good morning, everyone, and thank you all kindly for joining this morning's session or information session on the Great Trade Mission to Canada that we are endeavoring to execute later this year. I see that we have 100 and about 90 registered participants and about 48, slowly increasing, 49 that are on the call. So before I commence, I am going to give another 2 to 3 minutes for interested parties who are joining to join the call and be able to enter. I know some of them may now be realizing that there's registration, etc. So I'm going to give just a few minutes and then we're going to start promptly at 10:05 a.m. Thank you all for joining on time, and I look forward to engaging with you all shortly.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, once again, everyone. Good morning, and thank you all for joining us. We are about to kick off. Just some housekeeping before we start. So, we chose to do a meeting instead of a webinar to have the opportunity for all of you to engage very openly and so forth. I'm going to ask you as we kick off this morning, if someone joins again. And as the team go along, please ensure that your mics are muted at all times. In addition to which, as we go along, and if there's anything that is indicated that you need clarity on or you need answered, I'm going to ask you to drop those questions in the chat. It's going to allow us to go through in a very systematic manner all of the questions and also be able to capture all of the questions and answers to put out immediately following this call. Yeah, so as we begin, it's now 10:05. I'm going to introduce myself. Good morning. My name is Hyuka Dove, and I serve at Caribbean Export as the Program Officer for Gender and Entrepreneurship with the GRIT project. Also on this call this morning is our Head of Technical Programs, Mr. Wayne Elliott at Caribbean Export, and our Program Implementation Officer, Miss Destiny Eastman. Before we commence the reason why all of you are here this morning, and that's for the information session ahead of the trade mission to Canada application process as it's ongoing, I wanted to extend our apologies to participants who would have received the relevant information when we resent it accordingly over the weekend. Unfortunately, due to an Outlook limitation, which is no fault of anyone, not yours, not ours, there was a number of emails that returned undelivered. And as such, we took time over the weekend to send those emails back out to you all in smaller batches to see if that would help. And I know a lot of you have already, because you're here, you accepted the read receipts and so forth, and you let us know that you received it. So we apologize that there were some of you who received the information a few days later, and we thank you for your grace extended on that and for confirming receipt of that the application documents and so forth. We're here this morning, most importantly, to speak about the trade mission. What can you expect, what it is about, what's happening, etc., and to answer any questions that you may have. Yeah, so for those of you, there are a number of people I realize that completed the GRIT baseline survey. So I'm just going to give you a quick, and when I say quick, I know a lot of you have participated in our session. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of GRIT once more for those of you who may be unfamiliar, or this may be the first time that you're getting a chance to engage with us in this manner. The Caribbean Women Entrepreneurs Generating Resilient and Inclusive Trade Project. That's what GRIT essentially stands for. And it's a 4-year initiative funded by Global Affairs Canada and implemented by Caribbean Export. Now, our main aim, there are a number of activities that you would see in this program, but our main aim is that we're designed to increase the productivity, competitiveness, and export readiness of women-led businesses across the Caribbean. And how are we going to do that? With training, capacity development, matching grants, technical assistance, a launch to market and trade mission component, which is what all of you are here for this morning, and market intelligence tools, all of which you will see coming out from us in the coming months ahead. And we hope to be very engaged and involved with each and every one of you across our major 6 GRIT countries. Who do we serve? Belize, Dominica, Grenada, Saint Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, and Jamaica. And what's our main focus areas? Agro-processed foods, artisan goods, renewable energy, ecotourism, digital services. And when we say this, I like to go very deeply into the artisan. So it's jewelry, it's fashion, it's creative industry. I like to go a bit deeper when we talk about wellness products, into the nutraceuticals, etc. So it's very broad terms, but if you would see, and we would see when we go through the application, we sort of define those terms so everyone can see what they do or understand their path within this project. I got this question a lot when we were going through the emails and people asking us, what stage should my business be at, or is this open to only certain women? And I want to make it clear. Everything in GRIT, every program, every activity, every training is open to all women entrepreneurs across these 6 countries. But we do have a focus, particularly on young women entrepreneurs, rural-based and indigenous owned businesses, and enterprises led by women with disabilities. And that's simple. As you know, the women are disproportionately affected, impacted within the entire entrepreneurship ecosystem. But these groups, we've found via research by other partner implementations, are more so I would say more disproportionately impacted accordingly. So we make a concentrated effort to reach these groups. That is not to say that it's not open to all women entrepreneurs. We are here to serve all, but we make a particular effort to highlight these groups and point out that we are also here to serve you. Yeah. Our big picture numbers, we always go through 8 women entrepreneurs with direct support through our training and our grants and our programs, our interventions, our launch to market, etc. That's our number. And 10,000 broader women reach through our market intelligence tools that we would support and so forth. As we always say before I wrap up about GRIT, it is not solely the case. If you're a woman here today and you're here out of interest, it piqued your interest and you're wondering, okay, what does this program have to offer? It's not only about export. It's about strengthening your business for where you are. And if you so desire that you wish to export, then you can go through those streams and pathways. And you're going to learn more about our various streams and pathways in the coming weeks as we sort of launch our year 2 program of activities. But please know that you get out of GRIT. We always say this, you get out of GRIT what you wish to get and to finesse your business for the period that you're currently in and for the season that you're about to enter. Yeah, so that's GRIT in a nutshell. Let's get down to the trade mission to Canada. So we are now in year 2 of GRIT, as many of you who would have met on the activation in your in-country activations in your respective countries, I would say from last year when we launched in June in St. Lucia, come right down to our activations in November, and again during the April and May period, just gone there a few weeks ago. Yeah, so as we would have indicated, that was our year 1. Our year 1 was foundational, understanding the ecosystem in which women entrepreneurs operate, currently speaking with you, engaging with you, and doing some initial training to understand and develop our methodologies as we move forward into year 2 of how we will execute this training, what is the best format, etc. After really laying that foundation and engaging with you and working with you all over the weeks that we were in the relevant countries. Yeah? As we enter year 2 now, we're going a bit deeper. Yeah, and by deeper, I mean we're doing more targeted training. We're doing more targeted opportunities now to really hone in to the sustainable aspects, sustainability aspects, but more importantly, the long-term impact of your business operations and the support that we can extend to you. And we're starting that very early. We're now in year 2 of our 4-year program. Yeah, so Canada 2026. What does it include? And I want to frame this really clearly. In October, there are 2 main activities that are happening in Canada. And it's so serendipitous that we are funded by Global Affairs Canada, and this is happening this year in Canada. From the 26th of October, and for the 3 days following, there's the World Indigenous Business Forum. And that's the largest global gathering of its kind for Indigenous entrepreneurs, investors, and allies. And it's happening in Winnipeg, in Canada. Immediately following the World Indigenous Forum, and they planned it that way to capitalize on the entrepreneurs that will be in country at that time, there is also the Manitou Abbey Festival, and it's the largest Indigenous gathering of Indigenous entrepreneurs from all around the world. Yeah, from as far as Australia to the Caribbean to North America, Latin America, etc. At the World Indigenous Business Forum, they're expecting over 1,000 attendees thus far. Many of, I can tell you, many of the hotels and tickets have been sold out. And as such, I expect, that a really large gathering at that World Indigenous Business Forum. In addition to that, during the World Indigenous Business Forum, on the day after the forum ends, they're also planning a series of Indigenous business exchanges. So exchanges within Canada for those who are attending with Indigenous communities, who are leading businesses, entrepreneurs who are doing ecotourism or community tourism or individual entrepreneurs, to allow for, I would call it a cultural economy, but more importantly, a strong business knowledge exchange. So you can see opportunities, explore opportunities and experiences, therefore. Yeah. So when we realized as an agency that this was happening in October, we decided to plan a trade mission to leverage this opportunity. But we appreciate that we don't only serve Indigenous entrepreneurs in this program. So we decided to pair that mission, which is your first half of your mission, as you see here, from the 26th to the 1st of October, which is more so the Indigenous entrepreneurship-led aspect, with then a Toronto leg, because of course, to get to Winnipeg, you have to go through Toronto from the region, and then to come back home, you have to pass back through Toronto. So we also have the Toronto leg of the mission, but we're going to work with a group of consultants in Canada to then plan market visits, buyer distribution engagements, diaspora networks, and ecosystem meetings. And then we have a general trade mission for the Toronto leg. As such, as we said in our introduction just now, we're serving both our Indigenous cohort of entrepreneurs and our general, when we say GRIT is open to all women entrepreneurs, our general cohort of entrepreneurs. Now, let me put it like this. If you're an Indigenous woman entrepreneur, then Winnipeg, of course, the first leg 1, is of great interest to you. But that doesn't mean that you can't apply for the Toronto leg as well. So you will see when we go through the questions, there's a question that says, which leg are you particularly applying for? Which would be the Winnipeg leg. And once there's alignment, the Toronto leg, or you can state the Winnipeg leg only. Yeah? But if you're non-Indigenous, then we would expect that you would select the Toronto leg only accordingly. Now, let me give context here. Sorry, I'm just seeing. Sorry, yes. Sorry, I was just seeing a question come up. So let me give context here. As you can see, as I just said, and we're going up here. When we look at, okay, Tioka, we understand you. There's a Winnipeg leg, there's a Toronto leg. We can either apply for either or you can apply for both. And I want to make that very clear. I hope we made that clear in our correspondence in the written text as well. So how is this going to work? There's the application process that's ongoing right now. When that application process concludes, we're going to go through, of course, you see the eligibility criteria within the document, and then we're going to select the relevant or shortlist the relevant individuals who we think is the best fit given for what this trade mission includes and given the readiness of your firm for this mission. No, we're not just going to say, okay, you're ready to go, good, book your tickets, we book your things and we then carry off. No, we're going to commence a pre-launch to market program that's going to start, I would say it's going to start on I know the correspondence tells you that it's going to start for sure by the beginning of the first week in September, and we're pushing it to see if it's possible that we can at least do the orientation by the last week in August accordingly. So you have all the information and it's just jumpstart go for September. You know how summer goes in the Caribbean, it's difficult to pin down some things. That's the timeline that we're working with. And in that 2 to 2.5 month launch to market program, we're going to work with you to finesse the relevant approaches, the different business aspects, go through an entire curated program with you to prepare you to leverage the opportunities that will present itself either on both legs or the leg in which you're most or best suited for. So the support aspect is there. When you get to Winnipeg, of course, through all of in Winnipeg, there's a B2B particularly that's being put on by the Trade Commissioner Service based in Canada, based in Winnipeg. Then, of course, there are the opportunities during the World Indigenous Business Forum. Additionally, after that, we spoke before about the knowledge exchange opportunity with other Indigenous communities based across Canada. Then Manitou Abbey Festival that we're exploring to see how our entrepreneurs can leverage this space, because there's also an enterprise market, a marketplace, etc. Attached to the festival, and we are in conversation with them, right? And then following that, we go on to the Toronto leg, which is the leg that we are curating particularly for your market entry purposes. Yeah. So one of the things that you're gonna receive for those who are selected in the Launch to Market program, at the end of it, you're going to have a very clear-cut market entry plan. The consultants are going to work with you individually to create that for Canada. So your meetings, etc., would be set up according to that plan thereabout. Yeah. So that's essentially the details behind both trips. And we have explained that really clearly. Okay, so I see one question and I'm going to shoot an answer before I move along. And that is, how is Indigenous defined? Our Indigenous communities, as we understand it and as we define it for this project, are, and we have outlined it in the application form very clearly, our Indigenous communities in Belize, our Indigenous communities in our Indigenous community, the Kalanau community in Dominica, and our communities in Jamaica. In the application form, and I will go through this in a short while, we have identified these communities accordingly. We recognize that within Saint Vincent and the Grenadines, there is also a Garifuna community, and as such, that's why in the form we have other, and you are to state, if it isn't listed there, your respective Indigenous communities accordingly. Right? So I will keep all of the questions to the end, but because I saw it in my line of sight, I answered it right away. So about the trade mission, we went through that. We outlined to you while I was speaking just now why to apply and what's in it essentially for you. And we outlined who should apply. And I want to stress again, for those of you who would have joined late, this opportunity is open to all women businesses within our 6 great countries. We do have a particular focus, and we encourage these groupings of entrepreneurs to apply, given that we find that they are disproportionately left out, affected, impacted when programs such as these come to town. You know, it always comes to the city and not to anyone else. So we put a very pointed effort on this matter of inclusion. As the person recently asked a short while ago, we have defined here who we recognize as Indigenous, but we're also a learning project, and we're very happy if you have other definitions that you would like to say. There are other communities that you believe within different countries that are to be recognized. Feel free to send that to us in writing, and we would of course take same into consideration accordingly, right? I wanted to get down earlier. We spoke about the priority sector. So I know you see the fact sheet and we have those 6 main topics there, and I wanted to get deeper into it. There's product-based sectors and there's service and creative sectors. And we got a number of questions. Someone said this application looks very much product-based. Am I wasting my time filling this out, or is this for ecotourism? Yes. Yeah, so we sort of provided a bit more detail as to what we mean by digital services, etc. So what we mean by tourism, yeah, whether it's eco, whether it's community, whether it's cultural. So what we mean by cultural and creative industries, we sought to define this a bit deeper. Also, and based on our engagements, I think throughout the relevant countries, I would go so far as saying that I really learned of the broad nutraceuticals industry that we have in the Caribbean from going to these three countries accordingly. I just want to correct one thing as I see it coming out here, and I want to go back to it particularly because I see the question and I don't want it to be misunderstood. There is no age limit to grit. Again, I want to stress on the first line, and I think we have to do a better job at how we articulate this. So I would look at it properly. But we say here, this opportunity is open to all women-led businesses from the 6 grit-focused countries. So the factor here is grit-focused countries, all women-led businesses. Yes? We especially encourage these groups to apply, but it does not mean that this is only open to young women entrepreneurs. I don't know why that is being misconstrued as that. We always say is the following entrepreneur profiles are particularly encouraged to apply. So I just want to stress this again. The first line clearly says this is open to all women-led businesses. Yeah, we do not practice exclusion. What we practice is intentional, deep inclusion. Yeah, good. So, moving along now. When you think about applying to this opportunity, I want to be really transparent with you. This is the first trade mission. There's going to be another trade mission next year to Canada. I want you to think about your business readiness. I want you to think about your capacity that you currently have and any capacity to scale. I want you to think about, and before I go on with that, there was a question. There was a powerful question that came over the weekend that I really want to answer as we're talking about capacity here. I reconcile that there are a number of business organizations, women, cooperatives and collectives, etc. I got emails, particularly from the Seaweed Women Association, in 2 countries, in 2 different countries. And they asked, can we apply as the association, appreciating that we cover a number of women within a country or within our locality, etc. And that is an excellent idea. If you are part of a grouping and you wish to apply as such, I think that's an excellent idea because you know why? Accordingly, when you're thinking of export, it provides the scale and volume in which you can do so appropriately when all of you all come together. This is not saying to anyone else that it puts you at a disadvantage. This is saying to the grouping. I know 2 entities wrote to me and asked me that, and I just thought there's some questions that I have on a list here that were asked that I thought it's valuable to share. Yes, if you are a collective, a cooperative, etc., and you want to apply as that, one person from your cooperative. So you have to indicate who's the member that will be representing the cooperative, whether it's your president, your treasurer, your PRO, whoever. And then I would ask you to directly email us at EngageGrid because we can say that when we were preparing the application form, we didn't think of it in that approach, but it's a beautiful suggestion that came to us. So we would guide you in how to complete the form so that is clearly articulated, or maybe just complete a 1-pager explaining it, and then after filling out the form accordingly. Yeah, but I just wanted to say, yes, that is an opportunity for those of you who are on the call, who are part of cooperatives. Right, coming back to the availability now. And the reason I say this is, I want you to reflect deeply. And I want to position this to you. If you assess yourself, I would love for you to do an assessment as you go through the application form, as you look at the specimen form that we will go through shortly, and say, am I ready for this opportunity? If I land in Toronto and there's opportunity to leverage X and Y and Z, can I capitalize on this where I'm currently at? Right? Do I need help with X, Y? Understand, and that's one of the questions in one of the sections. Where are you at? Right? Because it may mean that, this year may not be the year that you capitalize or you apply on the opportunity, but you take part in the trainings and so forth and all these different bits that we have coming up. And then next year is when it's going to be a prime year. Not discouraging anyone from applying, but I'm telling you to reflect deeply based on the application. That is why it's so thorough, to ensure that you are prepared to capitalize on the opportunity accordingly. As we said here, and I said earlier, you can either be selected based on once we do the determination, you can either be selected for the Winnipeg leg, the Toronto leg, or both legs according to the mission fit. And we say clearly here, we're going to look at the business profile, the sector, market readiness, inclusion, and mission fits, and then select the participants accordingly. So let's be fair here. If it's the World Indigenous Business Forum, and that's Winnipeg, expect that, and let's be fair, that it's Indigenous entrepreneurs that are going to be in Winnipeg. Yeah, I just want to make that really transparent for you, because in Winnipeg, of course, we'll have to register you for the forum, make the relevant payments on your behalf. I don't expect to show up at a World Indigenous Business Forum without Indigenous entrepreneurs. Yeah, so I just want to put that there. So what can selected entrepreneurs expect to receive? Again, subject to confirmation, budget availability, final approval, selected entrepreneurs may receive support, participation in the pre-mission launch to market. That's going to be virtual. Again, I'm saying to you, we start first week of September. The most we may have in the last week of August is the orientation, because we still have to finalize some bits with our consultants when they're onboarded, etc. Right? Make sure, ask yourself, do I have the time for a rigid, and when I say rigid, it's about 10 hours, about 10 sessions, sorry, in the weeks going on. Yeah, do I have the time, September, October, to join this launch to market program virtually, dedicate myself to it, prepare and do what I have to do, and then travel end of October into first week of November? Please don't put yourself forward if you know after you say, "Ooh, no, I have a family there, so I have a disengagement in the last week there, and I need to leave." And when I think I seen you at one of your B2Bs is because your family have a wedding down in Toronto and you run away. Please, no, we're not starting with that energy, right? So ensure you have a pre-mission launch to market program time ready. Somebody laugh in the chat. It's true. We experienced it before. We know who we are as a people sometimes, right? We make the most of the time we have. A customized Canadian market entry plan developed specifically for your business. Return international flights from your home country to Winnipeg, to Toronto, and back accordingly. Domestic transport within Winnipeg and Toronto. Hotel accommodation across both legs. Of course, for those who are going to the World Indigenous Business Forum, as I hope you would have researched it online by now, it's a hefty price tag. We're going to cover that for the World Indigenous Business Forum and for Manitou Abbey. Coordinated market visits, and where confirmed your relevant B2Bs, etc. in Toronto. All of your mission briefing materials and selected collateral to support you. Mission communication visibility support. And this is the most important part. 6-month post-mission follow-up. When we engaged with you, we recognized that something you said to us was very important, and you will see it worked into all of our programs and activities with grit. You said the programs come in, by the time the program is ready to end is when you all doing everything, and then there's no support. So that's why the pre-launch to market in this instance is 2.5 months, but you see the length of the period now of that support with you is for 6 months post the trade mission, so that we support you in leveraging the opportunities that you would have engaged with while in Canada accordingly. Yeah. So
just one question.
1 minute. Can you write? Sorry, I'm so sorry to cut you, my darling. I'm seeing I'm now seeing the hand. Sorry, I was looking at my document. But we're going to keep all questions. I want to go through this really clearly just for the recording purposes. We're going to keep all questions to the end, but do put the question in the chat box so that we can go through list by list. But as I'm speaking, my colleagues are also in the chat and they're very happy to also respond. And then we can go through and pick up from there and have a conversation thereafter, right? It is important to note one thing. We are covering all of the relevant costs associated with participation. And there's one cost or two costs that you have to cover, and you have to be prepared to cover. You have to be prepared to cover your travel authorization process to Canada. So if you already have a Canadian visa, great. If it is you require an ETA online, of course, we will only know, we have thus far pulled what is required for each country. So we know what's required for each country, each of the 6 great countries already. We now have to know what your position is. That's a question in the application form. So once we understand that, by the 1st of September, you have to undertake to do your ETA or your visa, as the case may be. We will book your tickets thereafter once we are assured that that aspect is sorted with you. So one, that process is all on you and you have to undertake that. Now, please note that when I say it's all on you, it means the cost and anything administratively associated with putting your visa together, if you do require a visa, ETA is solely on you. What will we provide? We will provide a letter that you can accompany with your visa application or your ETA application so that the relevant authorities are aware that you're attending a formal engagement within Canada. Yeah. The second thing that you are expected to cover is any meals and incidentals while in Canada. So you know whether it is you like steak or whether you like vegetables. You would know your preferences and all of these different bits. So we leave that portion of the arrangement to you. At the hotel, there would be breakfast included. So when you're thinking of your budget, you can think of, I have to provide lunch and dinner and any incidentals. Well, on some forum days, of course, lunch would be provided. But remember, after we leave the main forum, or the main World Indigenous Business Forum outside of that. So you have to cater, I would say, for your breakfast, for your lunch, your dinner, and any incidentals. And that cost is on you. So I want to repeat again, thus far, you have to be able to cover all of your travel arrangements in terms of your visa. Remember here, you're seeing your ticket, accommodation, transportation, everything else is included. In terms of your visa, yeah, you have to be able to cover your meals and incidentals while in Canada for the duration of our trip, right? So I just want to position that accordingly for you, right? And we stated here clearly participant contribution and subsistence costs. That's the only thing that you'll have to cover throughout this process. What you must commit to, and we said it really clearly, it can't be, and I want you all, and I'm speaking here with intention and from the heart, please do not apply for an opportunity that you know within yourself, you look at your timeline, you look at everything else that you cannot fully complete. Because it would be truly heart-wrenching that you apply and you are selected, and then in the middle of September, you say, oh, I can't go again, or I'm not going again, or I'm pulling up, when another woman would have been able to have that place. Now, things happen and things come up, and that's fine. We're going to also consider having some alternates just to ensure that we provide the opportunity in case any unfortunate circumstances. But I'm really going to ask yourself, can I commit to the pre mission launch to market? Can I commit to the entire leg that I am selected for, whether it's one or both legs? And can I commit to the 6 to 8 months post mission thereafter? Yeah, this is all for you. So if you can't commit to that, then please, I ask you, leave the buckets open and pass it to somebody else on this round. There are many more opportunities to come, right? So again, just some quick other bits: attend all scheduled meetings, participate in the daily debriefing, participate in the post-mission debrief, complete the post-mission follow-through. All of these different bits, these are well stated for you. We have clearly the eligibility criteria noted here. We have most importantly the selection criteria. So it's very transparent, and you see how you're eligible, and then how we will be selecting participants for this trade mission accordingly. And this should really be where you look and grade yourself: export potential and market readiness, product or service readiness, mission fit and business goals, and alignment with GRIT's inclusion priorities. Again, this does not, I want to say, we went through this before. For anybody who's joining later, again, I'm going to repeat, this opportunity is open to all women entrepreneurs in our 6 GRIT countries. We simply make a concerted effort to reach our priority inclusion groups who are usually disproportionately left out and impacted when opportunities like this occur. Yeah. So that's about it. We have the key dates. Again, we sincerely apologize to you all. I know a number of you would not have received the call to expression of interest at the relevant time. We endeavored and we sent that out. We worked over the weekend to make sure everyone had that accordingly. Now we are on to, and after this, we're gonna go to the oh, I don't know what happened here. This is interesting. Is somebody writing on screen? Somebody's drawing? Yeah. Somebody's marking on screen. Anyone else is seeing that? I apologize. I don't know what's going on. I think someone, if my team can just help me by removing privileges from anyone who has privileges to mark on screen, I'd appreciate it. But that's okay. We can move forward with some scribbles. Or if the person, I think the person's name is Lorraine. Lorraine, if you could remove or undo the marking that you just did, because it's visible to all of us, I would greatly appreciate it. Because I don't know what to do from here. But we're going to progress nonetheless. You have this copy before you. So I want to say something. This is a sample application. This is not to be filled out and sent back to us via email. The link to fill out the application is in the EOI. The link is here, and I am going to ask my colleagues to drop the overall page link again in the chat just for ease, in case anybody is joining, just hearing about this and don't know where the information is. Is there any way I can get the scribbles off the screen, colleagues, before I move forward? No?
I'm not seeing the scribbles.
Yeah, I'm seeing it too, but I would suggest you move forward.
Ahead. All right, then. Yeah, it's there. That's all right. Thank you so much. And I apologize for that accordingly. So let me do one thing. Give me a moment. Someone said to stop and resume share. So let me try it one time to see if that would work. Thank you for that advice. And let me see if it would resume. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So as we indicated earlier, this is a sample form. The reason for this is to give you a full picture of what the application process has within it, so that you can prepare these answers on your own in a Word document, separate and apart, and then you come over and you open the application form and you fill your answers in. A number of these are selection questions. It's about 12% of the questions that actually you have to sit and consider and write text for. Yeah? But this is just a sample form. I saw one person already telling me over the weekend that they can't fill out the form. So I just wanted to reiterate that for you all. I'm going to skip past the pleasantries section, for want of a better word. So the application information, the applicant, information is just to know who you are, where you're located, your position in the business, background, general background information. Yeah. Section B, and if you have any questions as it relates to the application, again, pop that in the chat. We're going to go through these thereafter, right? Section B, business information. Pretty straightforward and simple. Business registration, etc. I want to pause on the business registration aspect. If you go back to the EOI, you will see that an eligibility criteria is a registered business. You have to have a registered business if we are to even move forward and sort of consider trade and export. Yeah. So please note that if you're at the stage now where you're not formally registered within your local system, that's something that you need to start to look at. I know all of your BSO partners in countries, whether it's Beltrade, Jampro, Dexia, etc., they all have support services that they can support you with, but you need to be formally registered in order to apply for this opportunity. So just wanted to put that out there, right? So your business registration, your year of establishment, if you have a website, if it's applicable, you share that, etc. with us. Your employees, the percentage of your staff that's female, annual turnover, annual export value if you're already exporting, and if you're not exporting, you just select that. So this is just for general information to know if we're reaching those women entrepreneurs who have already participated in our program. This does not exclude you from the opportunity. So don't think, I never participated in anything or did the survey. This may not be for me. Incorrect. This opportunity is for you once you meet the eligibility and the selection criteria. Yeah. So you have the participation. We just want to know, okay, where are we reaching people from? Where are we not reaching people from, etc. Our baseline survey is very important. I saw about 12 people completed same over the weekend. Very happy for that. But I want to just say two quick things. If you have already submitted a baseline survey before, meaning if you participated in one of our trainings and you submitted that full baseline survey before, you do not need to submit that baseline survey again. If you would have maybe come to one of the trainings and you didn't submit the baseline survey and you think, well, it finished, I don't have to do that because I get in the emails anyway. My dear, you do. So I encourage you to complete the baseline survey accordingly. Yeah, it is our only instrument by which we can outrightly capture your performance, how we have supported or impacted or the changes in your business over time. So it's really important that you complete that baseline survey accordingly. And for those of you who have not yet completed the baseline survey, even if you come off this call today and you say to yourself, this is a great opportunity, but I have some work to do, so I'm going to apply for this next year. Still, I'm going to encourage you to complete our baseline survey because there are a number of activities that are coming up that you're going to be eligible for, whatever stage you are at in your business. And that's our main point. One, to capture where you're currently at, and two, to reach you directly because you'll be in our system. So your country and your community profile is the next section. Where are you located? How would you describe your business? Again, whether it's in an indigenous village, it's rural, urban, remote, etc. And again, because we have inclusion criteria, this is one of the questions that we ask. It does not exclude you from the opportunity. Yeah, just want to really stress that. Again, we have, this is optional self-identification. You don't have to if you don't wish to. It's optional. How do you identify? Please indicate your community affiliation. And we have outlined here for the person earlier who asked, how do you define Indigenous? It's here. But you also see if other Indigenous community, please specify. And we're welcome to receive that information accordingly. All right? So your sector and product or service information, and here you have the opportunity now to select and provide detailed information accordingly on same. Yeah. Your export readiness, and this is where it really gets you thinking now. Is your business currently exporting? If yes, what markets are you currently exporting? Have you previously exported to the Canadian market? Describe your current export readiness. What's in place for export? So if you're not currently exporting, what's your current export readiness like? I encourage you to be transparent about that. And it's okay if you're not where you should be now. That's the purpose of our project, and that's why we're here, to support you if that's your ambition with the relevant interventions that we have coming up to get to that space of export readiness. So please be transparent when filling this portion up. Do your products or services meet, or are they working towards any international standards or certifications? If yes, tell us about it, right? What's your maximum production capacity? That's very important. And I want to tell you why. Once we have made a selection on the consultants are doing their market entry plans, and we are providing you with a dossier when you're doing your B2Bs and so forth, you have to be transparent. This is your reputation now at risk. Can you meet this export capacity? Yes. And then first export, and you could only do 50. We don't want to put you and or us in that position where you can't meet your demand. So really be transparent. Think about it and say, okay, what's your current export capacity? Yeah. Of total production, approximately what percentage could be directed to export? So that's something you really have to think about. Okay, I make 200 units per day. My current market calls for 100 units. I do want to increase the local market to a further 50 units. So then I have maybe 50 to export. That's once a week. That's 50 by 4 weeks. Okay, how much do I have to increase this by, or can I increase this by? I want you to sit and reflect and think about these questions and answer this accordingly. Right? Then we want to hear about your Canadian market interests. Why are you interested in Canada particularly? Which Canadian market segments are you most interested in exploring? And this is very important for us. It's important when we have to consider, okay, this entrepreneur is interested in exporting to this market. When we're doing a market entry plan, is this viable? How is this going to work for them? What are the opportunities to leverage, etc.? So think deeply about that. Do your relevant research if you have to. Before you answer the question, but answer it with intention. You know, what specific outcomes are you hoping to achieve by participating in this trade mission? That's something that we want you to think through. And then, of course, your product showcase readiness, because there will be opportunities at the World Indigenous Business Forum where we have secured a Caribbean booth. We all have to share it. For you to selected participants to expo their products and services, and we're gonna have a really nice Caribbean booth with all of us there during the forum, of course taking turns, given that of course you also want to participate in the forum. So that's what this section is about. Packaging, labeling, and compliance accordingly. So answer that question fully and honestly. We come to the travel documentation section, and this is where we ask you if you hold a valid passport, if your passport, and let me say categorically that your passport should be valid until next year, March. Because if you're traveling in November, you need 6 months on your passport. So that is November, December, January, February, March, April, sorry. So you need to have at least 6 months on your passport following your last day of travel accordingly as a safety net. So ensure that you have that. Or that you can get a passport renewal prior to, so that you have that document in hand. Yeah, of course, we spoke about the ETA, the visa, and that process being on you. So that's something that you will have to commit to undertaking by September 1st, and that is starting the process by September 1st accordingly to allow for the 8-week timeline before travel. Availability and program commitments, and we asked really clearly, is there anything that you already have planned within your business, within anything that you think is going to impact your participation? We want you to really transparently reflect on that as you answer these questions. We have outlined a minimum of 10 sessions, approximately 2.5 hours each, plus some individual coaching sessions, if so required, once we select the cohorts accordingly. Yeah, so you'll have to answer those questions straight up to if you are able to commit to the post-mission engagements. Last question in that section, are you able to cover your own subsistence? We spoke about that already. Your meals, incidentals while in Canada, your Canadian travel authorization cost accordingly. Yeah, so consider outrightly based on what you have coming up. We know things can happen, but based on what you have coming up, can you cover those costs yourself? Right? Next section, your digital presence. Do you have a website? Provide us a URL. What platforms you are on? Share those platforms with us so we can do a full online analysis to see, okay, we select this entrepreneur, we're going to need to work on their digital presence, support them with training, etc., and some other bits so that they can improve the digital presence, because that transcends essentially to sales, right? Or they need to participate in maybe a digital boot camp that's coming up, or VIP program, etc., that's coming up, so that we can improve their capacity accordingly. Yeah? So that's that section. And then we get down to the nitty-gritty. This is you telling us, what are your business goals for the mission? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to capitalize on? Where's your focus? And then you put that through there. And then last but not least, you share with us your registration certificate, your profile and company overview, a 2-pager, just a nice clean overview that we have of your business, what you provide, etc. Photographs of your products or services, you can do up to 10. Accordingly, any relevant export certificates or compliance documentation that you already have, and any sample marketing materials, your brochures, anything. I would say compile, because you would have 5 selection points essentially that you can upload. So I would say anything you have to do to compile it. Don't overwhelm with information. Be strategic when selecting your relevant information pieces to upload. And of course, the last bit is the consent declaration and data use. Of course, we ask you accuracy of information, eligibility, program commitment, travel documentation, selection, noting that selection is not guaranteed. This is a submission. It's you expressing your interests. Every application doesn't mean that you're going to be selected. Yeah, so we just wanted to frame that transparently for you. Your data use and privacy, and we have outlined our data protection policy that we have here at Caribbean Export. So that's there. You can read up on that. And communication and photography consent. Of course, you're going on a mission. There will be communication materials that will be created. There will be videography, photography, capsuling of the mission, etc. So we just want to make sure that beforehand we have your permission to capture, to use your image and likeness and content to show you, etc. I know for some that there are sensitivities, and for the cohort selected, I do want to advise that there has already been a flag for some Indigenous presentations that do not want it to be recorded accordingly. So, of course, we will brief you ahead of time, but I just want you to know that there will be some sensitivities around what you can record, or what you can capture, and doing so intentionally and respectfully, particularly when we participate in World Indigenous Forum, some of the events that they have on the agenda, which is really excited, I must say. Then you have your final confirmation and submission. You would see that all of this is in the SurveyMonkey link. This is simply so that you can go through and prepare ahead of time so that you can just pop particularly your written answers in, because these selection answers, you know what you're going to select already. But it's just to make it a bit simpler accordingly. Of course, our submission deadline, July 26th, 11:59 p.m. The last day we will be answering questions would be on July 24th at 4 p.m. Any questions sent after July 24th at 4 p.m., it's the weekend. So you have this full week to ask any questions that you may have. We will answer. Give us a 24-hour turnaround as fast as we can. As you can expect, it's a lot of questions coming in, a lot of emails accordingly. What we will do is attempt to prepare a Q&A if there are things that stand out really for us. We will, of course, make this recording available and then prepare a Q&A accordingly to answer any quick questions that one may have or may be thinking of that we did not cover here as much as we can. I'm going to pause here for a moment. I'm going to ask our head technical programs, Mr. Elliott, if he has anything to add before we go in to looking at some of the questions. Wayne, anything
Not
for you
at
to
all.
add? Okay,
No, ma'am.
Destiny, anything for you to add, or did I leave anything out?
Hi, Tioka. Nothing from my end either. I'm just trying to catch up with some of the questions in the chat. So if there's nothing from your end, I think we could take some of the questions.
Questions. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to open up the screen now and I'm going to look. One second. Nadia, my WASC sister program, also a GAC program message. Send me an email with that information accordingly. I'm just letting you know that I see it. So send us an email and we'd certainly connect on that in a meeting. Let's do that this week. Yeah? Okay, perfect.
Could I just address one that I see recurring? It's around the
Sure.
baseline survey, and I think quite a few people think they might have already done it. It is a pretty involved survey. I am absolutely certain that you would remember. And so if you don't remember, what I would do is I would strongly encourage you just to resubmit it. If we do see a duplication on our end, we'll be able to deal with it then. But I wouldn't miss this opportunity because you didn't submit the survey. So if you're not sure, I'd encourage you to resubmit it with your application.
And I'm also going to share, it's in here, I'm also going to share a link to the baseline survey. It's something that, trust me, if you had to submit this, or if you submitted it before, you would know, yeah, I did this. Link to baseline survey. But as Wayne said, if you're not sure, and you really can't remember, then do submit accordingly. It's what you would have completed with the registration for any of the in-country activations that you would have participated in. So I'm going to go back to the very top. Permit me just 1 minute. There were a lot of engagements. I love this. Okay.
The other
If
thing
you
that
are
I'm
not
seeing quite a bit of, Tioka,
sure.
questions related to the visa and the ETA.
Okay.
What we can commit to doing is we will get a list for the GRIT beneficiary countries, validated with our Canadian counterparts, the government of Canada, and we'll give you a list of who requires a visa versus who requires the ETA. Yeah.
Yeah, most certainly. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna go down the list now, just to answer the questions. If so, this person is basically asking that, Jackie, if I was not involved in year one, is that an issue? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's for any grid program that you're going to see in the coming months and years ahead. You can take out of grid what you require so you can participate as you see fit and align to your business. If you weren't there and you weren't at our activation or our export readiness training, that is perfectly fine. We're glad you're here now. Fill out the baseline survey. Let's get to know your business more. And most importantly, if this opportunity isn't aligned for you at this current time, there's a lot of training and activities coming up. So we look forward to seeing you then.
So I think, Sioka, I think Destiny and I think we got the majority.
Okay.
What I'll just ask you to do is reiterate the beneficiary. So there seems to be a lot of questions there about Indigenous, etc. And I'd just love for you to reiterate this for all women entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Sure. Most certainly. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to be guided by you, Wayne, on the questions that I should articulate instead of going through the listing. Is that fine? Because I'm seeing like there are about 9 coming up.
Yes, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, great. So I'm going to be guided by you accordingly. So let's say again, how many do we have on the call now? 126. Let's go again for the one drop. This opportunity is open to all women-led businesses from our 6 great countries: Belize, Dominica, Grenada, Jamaica, Saint Vincent, and the Grenadines, and Saint Lucia. And when we say all, we mean all. Because there are key populations within our 6 countries that don't usually have access or direct outreach in programs, we have a particular effort to reach these groups. And those groups are Indigenous women entrepreneurs, rural women entrepreneurs, young women entrepreneurs, and women entrepreneurs with disabilities. So again, there's no age limit to GRIT. You can apply at any age accordingly once you align to the eligibility criteria for this mission. Nothing excludes you from that once you're first and foremost a woman entrepreneur. Next question, Wade.
I don't see any more here that we haven't responded to, Tioka.
All right.
So I think we should be good.
So we have like 11 new on my end. Hotels require, okay, there are some things I do want to answer. I don't know if it's answer ready. Someone said hotels require a credit card for check-in. Most people use debit cards and not actual credit cards. Okay, so that's in nitty-gritty of when we get on the mission to check in and so forth. We are currently in engagement with our hotels, and that's a very important point that you noted. I know that happens on bits a lot. We will work that out accordingly to make sure that everyone can check into their room. Of course, when we work that out, know that any expenses that you incur while at the hotel are expenses that you will have to cover in one form or the other, right? So we do appreciate that everyone may not have a credit card. The rooms will be paid for. I want to stress again, all of the mission-oriented costs will be provided by Caribbean Export, funded by Global Affairs Canada. When it comes to your subsistence, so your meals, if you decide to do room service in the night, if you have to run to the pharmacy, all of those costs will be there. So even if we have an arrangement with the hotel where you can check in, of course, without providing a credit card, note that the costs are still on you to provide accordingly. So you won't be able to, for instance, put anything on the room. You'd have to pay for it as you go along and so forth, right? I feel like, Wayne, anything else?
No.
Okay, before we wrap up, is there anyone else that has a question that was not popped into the chat that you want to do now, or that you placed a question that was not answered, just in case we missed anything? Okay, so Paige, you have a question. You want to pop it in the chat, Paige? And I just want to say this one thing about the business partnership and the percentage that has to be women-led for it to be considered. Please send us an email explaining this in-depthly so that we are clear about the association. I would say that the 2 questions received were from Women's Association accordingly. But do know that I'm being really transparent here. The beneficiaries of this have to be women entrepreneurs.
Over.
case someone is talking. Sorry, Wayne, you're gonna guide me there?
No, we're just scanning to make sure we got everything.
Okay, great. I saw two hands were up. I see Diana now has a hand, so I'm gonna ask her to pop that in.
Yes, good day, everyone. Good
Are
day
you
to
able
you,
to
Carl.
put the question in, Diana?
The
Or
questions are in. I asked the question twice. It's in the chat. It's about the volume. What volume is considered minimum in order for to participate?
when you say production volume, as in your production volume,
Yes, production.
we don't have a minimum production volume. Yeah. So we have to assess a number of factors. So I would not state there's a minimum production volume, and I would tell you why. For some countries, if we're thinking long term, and particularly in some of our smaller OECS countries, we may have to consider a model where for export to be viable, entrepreneurs have to group together for that export to be viable. So we won't at this time put down and say that your capacity should be X amount of units. Yeah, because that will automatically exclude quite a number of entrepreneurs who, together as a collective, if you're thinking of long-term exporting sustainably and for the long term, that can be grouped together accordingly. Yeah, is that fair?
So what then would you use to determine readiness?
Your larger profile and your information. So readiness is not only quantities per se. Yeah, because for example, you can have or be able to provide 500 units. Yeah. And another entrepreneur or 12 entrepreneurs in your country can also provide, say, 1,500 or so forth. Together, let's just say we're putting a pallet or container to go to Canada collectively. And in our activations, we said this. That may be an approach that we may explore. So we will not make a decision now because that decision would essentially exclude entrepreneurs that through the life of our program, we can work to support with expanding number of units, with working collectively with other entrepreneurs to export. Yeah. Our selection and eligibility criteria is noted clearly, and we're able to provide that information again, or if you want me to go over same in the document. Yeah. Any new questions, Wayne, or that's it? Let me know.
I think that's it, too. I'm not seeing. Yeah, I'm not seeing any new ones.
Okay.
So there was a question around the products versus services. And so ultimately the aim of the program is around increasing trade, and there is allowances in there for service-based entrepreneurs. So yeah, take a look at the information provided. It's in there. But naturally, when we're thinking of trade, there is a pretty significant focus on goods and goods trade, but there is facilitation for services as well.
Okay.
So Marvely, what we're gonna do on the ETA and the visa requirements, we're gonna validate those with the Canadian government, and we'll post which entrepreneurs from which of the great countries require ETA versus a visa.
I
I
see
think you have two
Avelina.
hands raised, Tioka.
Okay, sorry, thank you. I see Avelina had asked a question. Avelina, yes, you can apply accordingly. I know Omar is supposed to be on the call, and he would have, we would have had a conversation last week, so he should be making outreach with you to support any of our Indigenous groups who wish to apply and may need any guidance or support in completing the application process. So Avelina, just to give you that info, but I will let Omar also reach out to you accordingly. Cherie and Natalie are the, sorry, I need to close my screen. I don't know what's going on, but I'm seeing on the side of the hands there's Cherie, sorry if I pronounce your name incorrectly, Cherie.
All good, Mabrika, peace and blessings. Could you repeat what you mentioned about cooperative applications or applications for more than one person per product or service?
Okay, so for clarity, I got two questions this weekend from Women's Association, particularly those who were or are farming and then making value-added products with seaweeds. And the question they ask is, can the association put forward an application and represent their grouping, so their collective on this trade mission? And it is something that we would certainly agree to. We do reconcile, however, that some or all of the questions accordingly may not align on the application form. And as such, that's something we would look at today. So I'm asking those who are part of collectives or groups as such, where they work together essentially. For instance, I'll give an example. The Belize Seaweed Women's Association is a good example of that. Sauce Farm in Jamaica is also a good example of that. Those applications will be considered and can be put forward. I ask that you write to us directly and highlight that so that we can work on preparing accordingly to ensure that the application fits your organization type and it's clearly articulated. We cannot go in now that applications have already passed and change the application form because it will throw off the other responses accordingly. Yeah? So please feel free to do so. I want to make clear, however, two things that I said earlier. One, only one individual can represent the association, whether that's your PRO, your president, your treasurer, etc. And they would have to commit to ensuring that they have the relevant products of each entrepreneur and so forth to represent the relevant profiles, etc. So please know that whether it's a B2B they are attending representing the association and these entrepreneurs accordingly. And of course, we'd have to work with you. I already foresee in my mind, we'd have to work with you to ensure that your catalog and your profile clearly articulates all of your association members, your capacity, so forth. Yeah? I have to be clear, as we said also earlier. It is the case that if you are in, say, a cooperative or an association that has both male and female-led businesses, for this trade mission, for this purpose, for the GRID project, we can only include the businesses that are majority woman-owned or led accordingly. Yeah? So we cannot include businesses that are male-owned or majority male-led. Please appreciate that the project on a whole is solely for Caribbean women entrepreneurs. Yeah? And we will, particularly for the association, yes, you will be submitting as an association. Yes, you will be submitting, and we will discuss the profile of entrepreneurs, but we will be doing, we will do a bit more scrutiny to ensure that it's women entrepreneurs only that are benefiting from the opportunity, and we're very intentional about that. Yeah. I think I saw Natalie's hand up, but
Thanks, it was answered.
It was answered. Thank
It
you.
was answered. Okay,
Good
great.
morning. Can I ask a question, please?
I'm not seeing a hand. I'm not sure who is speaking. Sorry.
Sonia Dunston.
Hi, Sonia. Good morning.
Good morning, Tioka. I'm fine, thank you. Wanted to inquire of you quickly, in regards to those of us maybe chosen for the Indigenous or going to Toronto, for the samples that we'd be bringing, or for sale, because I see for the Indigenous that maybe persons will be able to sell products. Who will cover that cost? Will that cost be upon the individual?
You mean the shipping of the or
Yes,
the material?
of the products.
That would be
Yeah.
discussed at the selection dates. We don't want to make commitments on that because each entrepreneur will have a different, let's just say, each entrepreneur will have different packages of what they have to transport and so forth. And we, of course, will know how many based on where you're coming from, how many bags are covered, and what you can transport accordingly. More so, we'd also have to inquire as to your packaging and all of that. So there are a number of factors that would influence what, first and foremost, sorry, let me take it back, you can carry to Canada and for sale. Because again, you would recall from the process, Canada has particular packaging requirements and all of these things, yeah? As it relates, I just wanted to kind of highlight that, as it relates to how many bags each participant can carry, again, that's dependent on country, so that's something that's country specific that we would keep and confirm with selected participants once we understand the products that are selected, weight, accordingly. Some things, let's be realistic, we'll have to go if we're doing that approach with an entrepreneur in suitcases, because shipping, given the time and clearance and so forth, may not be possible given the travel time. Yeah. So that is something that we would answer at the point of selection.
Thank
Based
you.
on the product. Yeah. Any further questions? I see Avelina is here. Lovely. There's an important question about having assistance along with you if selected. I want to just say this one bit, that if there's an entrepreneur with a disability, that is certainly a possibility that we have to consider. In addition to that, no other entrepreneur will be able to bring along assistance per se. I don't know when you say assistance, if you mean somebody helping you to set up or accompany you on the trip, etc. No. So I can clearly say that the only accommodation that would be made for is if there are any entrepreneurs that are with a disability and require such support. Yeah, we will be our support system there accordingly when we travel for anyone else. I think that's about it. Wayne, I see
Yeah, I think
everything
so.
else.
I'm mindful of time as well. I think, Tioka, we're about 20 minutes over.
Oh no, we had an hour and a half scheduled.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. So we are 8
have
minutes.
8
Okay,
minutes.
cool.
Correct. Yeah. All right. So I don't see any other hands. I'm coming back now from the documents. I don't see any other. I see one more hand. Am I seeing that
Hello.
correctly? Sorry. Stacy and Campbell.
Yes. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was late in coming to the meeting.
Sure. We will have a
asking.
recording that's made available thereafter or transcript out. Sorry about
Okay.
that. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no problem.
No. Go ahead.
The question is, when will the selections be made for when will the persons know they're selected?
Yeah, within the month of August. So based on the applications we receive, there may be need for further, I don't want to say investigation, it's the only word coming to my mind, for further review and interviews. So within the EOI, we do give you a key dates. So notification of shortlisted, selection, interviews, additional assessments, final selection by the 31st of August. So that's our due diligence. Thank you, Karen. So that is our date for final selection and notification accordingly. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see. Avelina. Avelina, you're muted. You're still muted, Avelina. I don't know if we have the power to unmute you. I think I just asked to unmute. No. You're still muted, so I can't hear you. Jackie, I see your question about paying for your own support and airfare and hotel accommodation. We are very wary of saying if there's a particular challenge of why support is needed. It would be considered, as I said, with persons with disabilities, certainly a consideration. Outside of same, we're very wary of same. Just given past experiences of accompanying partners, etc., on missions. This is a work mission, it's very intensive. And as such, we would have to clearly understand the purpose for such accommodation. But no, currently, as I said, only the only support that's taken into consideration at this time, support with women with disabilities, as the case may be. On a case by case, if we understand clearly and there's a legitimate case of the entrepreneur, something happening, for instance, that they require physical support, we would consider same accordingly. Yeah. So we have about 5 minutes left. Aveline, I see your hand up. You're unmuted, but I don't think we're hearing you. I think I just heard you, and then you were muted again. So Avelina, here's what: send us a email, or if you are easier, you can easily get on to Omar. You can send him the question, and then he can just pop it over to me, either or, because I don't know what's happening here. So I feel like that's the last question. That is there. I see my colleague accordingly has answered all questions. We will also go through the questions and see some things we may have missed, further consideration accordingly. So we would go through any questions and of course put that within our Q&A accordingly. Yeah. So I want to thank everyone. It's now approaching 11:27. I want to thank all for joining us here today. Thank you so much. I hope we would have answered all of your questions that you have. If there are any questions,
just one last question. What time on the 26th do you close off? Is it 12 midnight?
11:59 p.m.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Barbados time.
Yeah.
Barbados time.
Barbados time, right? AST. Sorry.
Okay.
Scroll that back
Thank you.
quickly. 11:59 p.m. AST. We have it somewhere here. Sorry. I think it's on the front page of the application form here. 11:59 p.m. AST and 4 p.m. on Friday for questions accordingly. Yeah. So that's it for us. You're going to hear from us. Look out in the coming weeks for more information on what's coming up. Ingrid, I know we were a bit silent for a few weeks. We were planning, heads down, planning for this and some other activities. So forgive us, but we look forward to being in communication with all of you. Have a wonderful day, have a wonderful week, and we look forward to receiving applications by the 26th at 11:59 p.m. and engaging further in the weeks and months ahead. Thank you all so much and have a good morning. Take good care.